Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I don't know if you've been following me, not this year, but last year. I used to do a monthly top 9 for every month of all the games I played that month. And I think I did January, or I prepped January, but I'm not sure if I ever recorded it. It's just 2023 just got so busy. I changed jobs. I had 2 kids graduating that year. It just got to be so much, and we had lots of renovations that we were doing in the house, so it was just, I kind of had slowed down. So this year, as one of my New Year's resolution, I want to get the top 9 going again. So let's get started with this one. So in December of 2023, I played 70 times, which I think is actually pretty impressive. It got a little bit carried away between Christmas and New Year's there. I think I played almost every day. So it was getting to be a bit much, I'm sure. But I've played 53 different games. 6% of my own base collection got played that month. So that was good. And let's get started then with the top 9. See, out of those 53 games, which one made it into the top 9? In number 9 position, it is Vampire Queen. Vampire Queen has made my list multiple times. This is just such an amazing card game by Wolfgang Kramer. I purchased this game by accident. I knew nothing about it. I wasn't trying to get this game. It was part of a lot, and I wanted other games in there, and then I ended up playing this one, and it's like one of the best ones. So it's a card shedding game. So you start with 13 cards. The goal is to try to get rid of all of your cards if you can. And when somebody does get rid of their last card, everybody else will tally up the total of all their cards they have left in their hands. And you play 5 rounds. It's whoever has the least amount of points after 5 rounds is the winner. Now, what's interesting with this one, okay, of course, it's all vampire themed, so all the artwork has like Victorian vampires. If somebody plays like 2 3s, then you have to play 2 cards of a number that is higher than the 3s. What's really interesting and unique with this one too is you have the vampire hunters, and these ones are never discarded, and one is worth 15 points and one is worth 20 points, so somebody is going to be stuck with them at the end of the game. But when you play a vampire hunter card, everybody will put a single card down of any value, ideally low, because whoever plays the highest number has to take all of those cards plays and puts them back in their hand, building up their hand again. So you're trying to avoid collecting the vampire hunters. You're trying to get rid of your cards, and you want to be a little strategic with that, right? Like, okay, well, I'm going to play these high cards in hopes that nobody can play so that I get to go again. And oh no, you weren't supposed to play on that. Now I'm stuck with these low cards. So it is neat. It is so satisfying. Here's what the cards, well, you can't see them because they're mostly covered up, but as I mentioned, like, it's all really nice, bright Victorian era. My copy personally shows a lot of wear. It's been played a lot. So given the opportunity, if I ever come across this one again, I want a new copy. So that was my number 9 Vampire Queen. In the number 8 position, we have Seven Wonders Architect. I actually got this one played again just yesterday. We had a bunch of people here as well. Combination of like adults and kids, and this is just such a neat game to play, but it's so simple that it is easy to get to the table, and you can play 7 players without it being, again, a party game, because when you have a large group like 7 and you're trying to find a game to play, it tends to be party game, which is okay. They're a lot of fun, but it's nice to kind of get more of a gamey game to the table as well. So the way that this one works is everybody gets their own wonder, and you have all the components that you're going to put on the construction side. And in order to build the first one, you have to have 2 resources that are different, then 2 resources that are the same, then there'll be one that's 3 resources that are different, then 3 the same, and so on. And you build your wonder segment by segment. The game ends when somebody completes their wonder. Now what's interesting as well is everybody gets their own wonder, and you get their deck of cards, and you place your deck of cards between you and the player next to you, and the other player plays their deck of card between the 2 of you. So you have a deck of card on either side, and there's the deck of card in the middle. And on your turn, these decks of cards are face up, so you can see what is on either side of you, or you can draw from the middle card that is face down. And you draw one card and you start accumulating. So you'll be accumulating resources so that you can build your wonder. You can accumulate the science, so that when you have either 3 different ones or 2 of the same, you can take a science token, which will either give you a special ability or extra scoring points. You can have military, and some of the military cards have a horn on it, and if there's a horn, you flip over the peace token. And if all the peace tokens are turned over, then we go to war, and you compare your military strength to the one on either side of you. Whoever has the most gets the military token, which is worth 3 points at the end of the game. If you collect the blue cards, that just gives you points. Gold is a wild resource. And then you're going to have, on the blue card, that could be like a cat token. If you ever end up with the cat token, you can look at that middle card before picking it up. So the whole game is very simple, but it's a lot of fun. It was a huge hit yesterday, and obviously it made my top 9 in the month of December. I hadn't played it in a little while, and then we played. I was like, oh yeah, this is a good one. So that was my number 8, Seven Wonders Architect. In number 7 position is a new game that I got. Well, new to me anyways. I'm not sure when. Well, yeah, I do. It's 2021. This is when it was released, and it's Enchanted Plume. My co-host, my podcast co-host, would talk about this one all the time, and it sounded so beautiful, and I wanted to play it, so I saw it on sale secondhand, so made arrangement to get it. It got to my house in December, so I've played it quite a few times since, but look how brilliant this looks. So you are building your peacock with the feathers, and you start at the top, and you can put however many feathers you want at the top, and that's going to determine how large, because if you start building your second row, you can't add to the first row. Now what's tricky is any card you add to the first row is going to count as negative points. So you want to try to play your lowest points as you can on that top row. Also, all the cards you play on this top row indicates which colors can be added to the second row. Now in the second row, you want to start going as high as you can and adding points to your feathers, because they're going to need to negate the negative you've already put in, and you're trying to build up the most points. Now, once you start building your third row, if you've got a peacock large enough, the colors that are in the second row will indicate which colors can go in your third row. So it has a really interesting kind of puzzly aspect to it. Plus, you're at the mercy of the cards you have in your hand and the cards that you have out in the market. And then if you are ever able to complete with the final feather, it needs to match, of course, the color of the previous 2. Then you put that one face down, and it completes your peacock. And because you've completed it, you get a bonus points for every feather cards in your peacock. So, and you can have as many peacocks going as you want. It is just such a neat looking game. I really enjoy this one. So I've played it a few times, and it's a hit. So that was my number 7, Enchanted Plumes. In the number 6 position is an old favorite of mine, and that is Shifting Stones. This game is so simple and so brilliant and has such a beautiful table presence. It is gorgeous. I held a mini game day on December 22nd at like the mini Christmas market that they were hosting here in my village. So that was one of the game that we ended up playing. You have 9 tiles. You create a 3x3 grids. Each tile are double-sided, so you like the green ones will have a different color on the other one, and so all the colors have the same colors on the other side. Some you have more of than others. And then you also have cards in your hand that will have different patterns indicated with these tiles. Either it's like a small pattern of 2 tiles next together, or 3, or where it would need to be in the whole grid of the 9x9. And what you need to do is you need to manipulate the tiles on the table and flip them to the other side, or swap location to a tile that they're sharing a side with, until you've got the pattern that you need, and then you can score that card. Now in order to do that, you need to spend a card from your hand. So you spend a card to flip the card, the tile, or you'll need to spend a card to swap the tiles. So you need to decide from your hand which one are you going to keep, which one are you going to give up to manipulate the tiles, and you're trying to go for the higher points if you can, but then that's going to be more difficult to create that pattern because they tend to be a little bit more challenging. It is so clever. It is such a great game. It plays super quick, and it's super easy to teach. I love this one, and that's my number 6. Shifting Stones. Then in number 5 position, another what I would consider like an old classic, and that was Splendor. Actually, when we sat down to play this, we were going to play Splendor Duel because it was just me and Lee playing. And I couldn't find Splendor Duel. And I'm going through my game collection. I can't see it because Splendor Duel is so significantly smaller that I had it on my small shelf and I thought it was bigger than that, so I wasn't looking there. But so we ended up playing Splendor instead. And this one is just neat, satisfying game to play. First of all, the components. You have all these crystals that you're trying to collect, and they're on like these nice chunky plastic poker chips, and they're just so satisfying to have and manipulate, and the clinky noise that they make when you move them around, and it's just neat. Then you have the 3 levels of cards, and each cards have a different cost to them. So maybe it costs a blue gem, a green gem, and a white gem. So you need to have collected those crystals or gems so that you can spend it to acquire that card. And then that card on the top is also going to have a gem, and that gives you a permanent gem that you can use going forward. So now if it needs, and it was a red gem, and it's like, well, this one needs a red gem and 2 blue gems. Well, you have the permanent red gem, so you just need to make sure you have the 2 blue gems until you accumulate so much that you can do kind of quite a bit. And some of these cards, as you go into the upper level, are going to be worth victory points as well. So I think it's first one to reach 16 or 18 points will trigger the end of the game. Then you kind of finished around, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Neat game. Really enjoyed. I hadn't played this one as well in a little while. So it was just, you get to the table again and you're like, oh yeah, this is why I like this one. You could just kind of bring back all those memories. Then in number 4 position is Sagrada. This is another one that's like a little bit older, 2017. I guess it was just like a dust off the games off the shelf and let's play them again month. But Sagrada is another one that's been around for quite a while. I was going to that market and somebody had seen that I was bringing Azul, and they said, I would actually really like to try Sagrada. Do you have that one? Could you bring it? I'm like, yeah, of course I'll bring it. So we brought Sagrada. Now, Sagrada normally is 1 to 4 players, and you'll notice I have a little asterisk there. I got an expansion that actually makes it up to 6 players since we were a family of 6. So that's why I have the thing on there. You can make this into a 6-player game if you want. We actually ended up playing 4 players. But Sagrada is another very puzzly game. So if you have 4 players, you're going to be rolling 9 dice. So 2 dice for every player plus 1. And you take all these dice, they'll have different colors, and you roll them. And you start with the first player, and they'll pick one to put in their grid, and you're creating this stained glass. And the next one is going to go pick one. The third one's going to pick one. The fourth player is going to take 2, and then it goes back to the third and the second and the first. So the first player gets the benefit of picking first, but they also have the disadvantage of taking what's left. And then the very final dice is the round tracker and gets put into the middle as the round tracker. On your grid, you need to fill this out, and it's 5 by 5, and you'll have different rules each round. The cards are different each time, so you'll have different things you're trying to accomplish. One of the ones that we had this time is we were trying to get all 5 colors in each row to score bonus points. But you're creating this grid, and the dice cannot be placed next to a same colored dice. So you can't have green next to your green. And you can't have the same numbered pip next to each other. So you can't have a 5 next to another 5. If you notice in that picture, this was my board when I was playing. At the very top there, some of the cards have colors where there's designated colors that you have to put there, and some have designated pips. I was never able to fill out that number 6 because at the end there was just no 6 to be put there that would match or not match the colors that was around there. So I was 1 dice short, but I think I still managed to tie for first place, so that was decent. Very cool puzzly game. At first you're like, oh, okay, this is no problem, this is easy, but as your board gets filled, it gets harder. You feel the tension of it. And that's Sagrada. Then in the number 3 position, and we actually played this one on New Year's Eve, and it's another kind of bigger group game, and that was Camel Up. Camel Up is fun. You can play up to 8 players, so that was perfect because we had a bit of a group there. And then this is the only board so far that I've seen that when you open, there's like a whole pop-up oasis that creates there. So it looks really good on the table. And you're racing camels. Now, in this game, you don't own the camels. You just bid on the camel that you hope will win. And you're going to bid on each leg of the race. So there'll be multiple movements. And you're going to also bid on who you think is going to win the whole race or lose the whole race. And if you bid correctly and before other people, you're going to score more points for that. But then every time you buy tickets on each segments of the race, you're going to score points for that as well. And if you roll the dice and move the camel, you get a coin for that as well. So there's different ways of getting coins, and at the end of the game, it's whoever got the most coins is the winner. And the game ends once one of the camel crosses the finish line. Now what's really interesting with this too is as you move your camels, they're going to stack on top of each other. So maybe first we move the yellow camel, it moves by 3. Then the blue camel also move by 3, and now it's on top of the yellow camel. And in next round, if the yellow camel moves but the blue camel is still on top, well then the blue camel is moving along as well. And just to make things interesting as well, you're also going to have a black and a white camels that are just wild camels. They're got in the track and they're actually running the opposite direction. So if a colored camel ever land on one of them and that camel moves, it's gonna bring that camel backwards. And in this race, it happened a few times. So it was neat. It's chaotic. You get cheering. You kind of get so involved in like your camel, you really want purple to win, but then all of a sudden purple went backwards and then red looks like it's in the lead, but I was like, oh darn it, I had guessed that purple would win, so I better put my bid in for red then because it might be red. And so it is a neat racing game. Then in the number 2 position is Castle of Tuscany. So I had never played this one. I went to my friend's house for a game day. This is very similar to Castle of Burgundy, but it's a little bit of a lighter version of it. And I'm just saying like a little bit. You have like all these things that you're trying to build and you're putting on these board because your player board is these 3 tiles that you put together and you're trying to fill in these clusters just like you do in Castle of Burgundy. And then you have the central board, that's where you score, and you're trying to kind of build up your score on the inner ring because then the outer ring will move or the opposite. I wasn't really controlling because I was at the end of the table, so they were moving me for that. But it was so neat. It was a lot of fun. It's definitely more of a heavier game. Not that this is a super heavy game, but it's not light like Sagrada and Camel Up have been. This is a lot thinkier and a lot more strategic, I guess. But yeah, it was great. I'm glad I got this one played. It was just not on my radar, and I was like, oh, let's try this one. So it was, yeah, sounds good. And because I was about to leave, so it was like a game that you could fit in that time frame. That was still kind of like a nice weighted game. And then in number 1 position for the month of December is BloodRage, because BloodRage just never disappoint. And then we were playing game, me and Lee, and I was like, hey, will you pick? And he's like, well, let's play something we've played before. And he's like, let's play BloodRage. We haven't played that in a while. And it's so good. Every time I play BloodRage, and I mean, I lost. It wasn't my most crushing defeat, but it was actually, it looked like I was winning until the end, and he just kept getting all these extra points. So he totally zoomed right past me. But Oh, this game is just so neat. It is so satisfying. There's an area control component to it. There's battling that happens. You have these little minis that's on the board. You have your cards that'll have kind of special goals, and if you play the special goal, you can try and activate them if you're successful. I was set up so that anybody that got destroyed in like the province that would get destroyed at the end of each round, because there's one that gets destroyed each round. If they got destroyed there, I got bonus points, and then they went to Valhalla. And then when they came back from Valhalla, I got extra points for that. So I had kind of a nice engine going where I would kind of set myself up to get destroyed there and then get destroyed here, and I would kind of double up on the points. So it did look like I was going to win. But Lee had concentrated on pillaging a lot more than I did, and he kept building up all of his tracks, so he got 60 bonus points at the end just for being at the top of all of his tracks, while I think I had 20. So you kind of can't, if you really want to win, you can't neglect a portion like I did, but oh my god, it was fun. So even though I didn't win, I had a good time, and that's great. So that was my number one for the month of December. Here's a recap of all of my top 9 games for the month of December. If you ever wonder why do I do top 9 and not top 10, it's because of Pub Meeple. Because when you do the top 9, and I take all the games I've played, I put it on Pub Meeples, and it does comparison. Okay, between this one and this one, which one did you enjoy the best? I like this one. And you do a bazillion combination until it gives you your list of top 9. Well, it gives you the list of the top 53 in this case. But then you can click on a button to generate this 3x3 grid of this games. So that's why we do top 9, because I want to have the 3x3 grid picture. But there's the top 9 for the month of December. Be sure to follow me on Facebook on Mel's Board Game Room. My Instagram is Mel's_boardgames_room. And my podcast is a board game specialist that we host every 2 weeks with me and my friend Carla. And then my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room. Bye, everybody.